We used to talk about like what jail we wanted to go to instead of like what college. I knew that if I would have stayed in LA, I wasn't going to be able to pursue an education. I probably would end up dead or in jail. So grew up in Los Angeles in a gang-infested neighborhood. We moved to Cypress Park when I was in first grade. We were having a little barbecue on our porch, and we heard gunshots right off the bat. Gunshots, so we ducked, and so that was our first introduction to Cypress Park. Welcome home. Education wasn't really at the time. For me, it was kind of just there, right? It wasn't something that I wanted to do, right? I didn't really think about even finishing high school. The turning point of my life was my 11th grade year. I had skipped class for a whole month, so they had dropped me, so I was a dropout. My younger siblings were attending Renaissance Arts Academy. It was a new charter school, but in that school, I learned how to value education, right? It was a unique opportunity for me to gain some actual knowledge, right? It was life-changing for me. I had to make a decision, right? The decision for me to leave LA was hard. When I got to UVU, I registered, and there was a club at the time called the Latin American Club, the Latinos Unidos, right? Ran that. Kyle Reyes was the advisor, and we had the Multicultural Center. Dr. Breton was there. He's one of the Multicultural Center advisors. He was from LA. Kyle was from LA. Axel Ramirez, Dr. Ramirez was from LA. I was like, man, these guys did it, I could do it, right? When I got my first job at Dixon Middle School, I was a student advocate for English language development, ESL students. This is really providing students with the support that they needed to be able to develop the English language. Some students were just beginning English, others were already surpassed that. Even though a student is proficient, you still have to kind of work with them for a couple of years and make sure that everything's good. I had to go into the classrooms and help them with their work. I had a center where I bring them in, we'll do homework together. And it was cool. I think for me, it was a good thing to be able to connect with these students. And I had awesome coworkers. Claudia Jensen, I call her my second mom. And I remember one day, she sat me down and she asked me a question. She's like, do you know what you're doing? I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. I don't know. It's like, no, you have a gift. I was like, what? I have a gift? It's like, yeah, you work well with students. You make a difference. And I remember I started to cry, right? Because no one had ever pointed that out. So I always wanted a space for the community, a space where they could sit down and have a good time. I'm all about building community, building connection. Was able to visit Mexico when I was in third grade. That's where I got introduced to coffee when I was in third grade. My grandpa had a big backyard full of coffee trees. I didn't know coffees were cherries. So we started picking the cherries, throw them in the bucket, and we would throw them up on the roof, let them dry, and then get a 2x4 and take out the seed of the coffee and let it chill for a little bit, and we would roast it in a cast iron pan. So coffee, like I said, has always been a part of my life. Going back to California back in 2016, there's a lot of coffee shops popping up, right? A lot of roasteries. I thought to myself, wait, I could do this. I learned about coffee early on. So I could learn how to roast coffee. I could run my own coffee business. I've always wanted a space for people like me, where someone could go in and get a pan dulce and drink a coffee. My plan is to open up a community center and a cafe. We need a space in Orem for our students and our families, right? It's a space that will be able to bring the community closer together, and it's a space where we could provide access to many different services in the community. There's no space in Utah County where a teen could go and just hang out and not worry about anything, So I'm really trying to create that space, and I'm involved with a few nonprofits that are gonna help me make that dream a reality. A single person could change the whole trajectory of your life. To me, that's happened a lot in my life and my work experience. Working with diverse populations has been key to make me who I am now. So the space, pueblo, means village, it means community. So that was always my thing, right? I wanted to build a community space where people could come together and drink coffee and break bread. Pueblo Coffee on Main is becoming that, and I hope that pretty soon in Orem we could also have that space and just open it up to more of the community and be able to be a staple of the community and bring people together.